All right. I think the recording's going. But today what we're going to be talking about is a little bit it's summing up a little bit of what we've talked about this week. Those overarching factors being specifically to the job when we're in our job, um creating better interactions with customers, getting more customers to actually speak with us on a deeper level, and then which in turn will give us more opportunities to convert then, right? Because we can talk all the time about converting and converting and converting, someone from a no to a yes, but if they don't first give you that time, if they're not convinced that what you have to say is valuable, then you're not even getting an opportunity to convert, right? So that's one thing we'll go over. That's job specific, things we can implement on the road. The other things we talked about is the things that we're doing off the road, all right? Now, what a lot of people there's a lot of people that come into this company in this position specifically is because it's an entry level sales role. People want to get into sales, and this is a great way to do that, an incredibly great way to do that. Now, the challenges that present to us when it comes to that is these people haven't done sales before. They don't necessarily know what it takes and that mindset you have to have in order to do well at it. People say all the time it's not a job, it's a lifestyle, and it's the most cliche and stupid thing ever, right? But I wholeheartedly believe in the fact that what you're doing outside of work and the way you live your life and decisions you make, I mean, it's going to be reflected in the work that you do. Okay. If you're a dishonest piece of shit outside of work, I mean, I can expect probably about the same level here, right? It's not too far off to understand that. Okay. If there's people on your team around you who have a problem with you because of something you're doing or something you're saying, the you have to understand that you're like, oh, well, I didn't mean it, right? I didn't mean to, right? I get it, right? I completely understand. Those things can come across to customers too, right? If that happens to a customer, what do you think your chances are at setting a lead, right? Oh, I didn't mean to upset that lady, right? Well, you didn't leave when she asked you very nicely to leave the first time. You know what I mean? So you have to take these factors into account. And you really have to be at the forefront of your mind, customer service, outward facing. You have to be mindful of what you're doing and how you're interacting with people. Um, Outside of work, what that looks like is going to be good habits, right? Waking up early, going to sleep at the right time, giving your body the right kinds of fuels, things of that nature. You will feel yourself incrementally get better, happier, more uplifted. You feel lighter. You just feel like you can take on anything when it comes to those things. When it reflects in your work, what it looks like is confidence. That's typically what people define that as. Now, confidence in and of itself is just you keep the promises that you make to yourself. That's at the root of confidence. So if you really truly honestly promise yourself that you're going to make these positive changes in your life, things will just come with it. It's just going to be a lot of things that come with it. A lot of people, they say that I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, right? But uh you know, pretty people or people with privilege and things of that nature, they can get ahead in life because of just who they are and they've been handed a lot of different things. Okay. Bad things don't happen to people like that. That's a lot of mentality surrounding that. And I just think it's such a loser way to go about life if you are constantly relating things to something that you can't control or that they can't control, and like, oh, that person only has that because of this, right? You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea. Typically, those people they're not lucky, right? Luck, the definition of lucky, I um personally would agree with is it's when hard work meets opportunity. A lot of times these people who it's just been instilled in them from day one from their parents. They saw their parents work really hard, okay? if your parents are really wealthy, typically, right? I'm not saying every single case, but typically those people worked hard to get where they're at. Okay. It means about them, the things that they're doing outside of their profession, what they're doing to make money, they've got it kind of locked down. They know what they're doing. They're confident in their ability to do that. They're very regimented. They're disciplined because you don't most people don't make a lot of money or become very successful in life if they don't have that with them already. Now, it creates a cycle because those kids grow up and they see their parents work very hard and that's what they're taught to do. They're taught, hey, this is just what you're supposed to do. You just work hard. Um, you're on time, your attendance is good, you're always showing up, okay? You're keeping the promises that you make to other people, things of that nature, right? So this cycle continues. Now, I'll a story about my old boss, up in central Pennsylvania. He says all the time. Now he's a very successful guy. He's built a great department, a legacy department up there in central Pennsylvania. And we're really, really good for a really, really long time. They're still, even since I've left the department, they're just still climbing and climbing and climbing. There's nothing that can stop that. Now, the way he grew up, his parents were always working, right? And he always says that all of his friends' parents from back there, lived in a very poor area, but his parents were the only ones that worked, that ever worked. Now I don't think it's surprising either that, yeah, unfortunately, we can get a little bit morbid. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of his friends have passed away. You know, a lot of them are not in good places. They're not somebody that you would want to, have your, bring your family around or anything like that. They're people that have fallen into bad habits. And do you think it's happenstance the fact that their parents didn't work? Okay. So the culmination of all of this really is, don't come into this wanting to be mediocre. Don't come into this thinking that it's going to happen, right? It's really easy to be mediocre. You need to work hard and at this and everything outside in your life. I promise you, your job, you will make more money in your job, but it's only a symptom or a side effect of what the real changes are. Okay. Bettering yourself, really making decisions, really thinking before you're making decisions about what you're going to be putting in your body, what you're going to be doing, how late you're going to be staying up, and things of that nature. All right. It shows. It really does show. Now, that's the first thing. You you pair that up with some of the ways that we can approach situations at the door, and you'll be unstoppable. You'll be absolutely unstoppable. When you're walking up to any door, first, let's start before we walk up to the door. Okay, we're on the road. Now, um, if I'm walking through this neighborhood and I've got my iPad here, right? And I'm doing, kind of looking down and real slow and stopping and whatever, pulling out my phone, calling my girlfriend, stuff like that. Um, you have to understand that people are watching you, right? You're a stranger in their neighborhood. They want to know what you're doing. They want to know what's going on, okay? Because at 3:05, it's always Miss Betty Lou. She's walking her 8,000-year-old dog who's missing a leg every day at 3:05. But now it's a different guy. Now it's someone else. Oh, and that guy's working. He's got an iPad and everything. Okay. Um, they're paying attention, right? I want to make sure this guy who's in our neighborhood, he doesn't mean any harm. If he's working, right? He's got an iPad and everything. If he looks like he's working, I hope that's what he's doing. You guys have to understand, we get calls I personally get calls in. People call into the office and they patch over to me. All right. Probably 3, 4 times a week from just random people. We may not have even knocked on their door yet, okay? But they see you out there, they see you walking around, and they see the company name or whatever, right? Or you get thrown up on a Facebook group or anything like that, and they'll call. They'll just say, "Hey, I just want to confirm that you guys are canvassing this area, like you guys are working here." Um, because we're a large company and unfortunately, sometimes people use our name for nefarious reasons and people dress as what we do, right? To try and case homes and things like that, find out if anyone's home and see if they can rob the place, the viability of all that. Unfortunately, that's a reality that we live in. And those homeowners, they're smart homeowners for doing something like that. Okay. I'm never gonna get upset with someone for doing for calling and making sure any of that. Um, but I'll I get calls. I typically get calls asking about people that they've seen. And if I look at that address, the people I'm getting calls from, they're typically in a map of someone who I know is a slacker or probably isn't doing very much. They'll call and be like, I don't know, he's been sitting on this bench for an hour, right? It really, honestly, does it look like you're working and does it look like people are going to trust you if that's what you're doing and people see that's what you're doing? It's weird behavior to be doing in a neighborhood. So stay on it. This comes back to it. Work hard, right? You want people to see that you're working hard, you're diligently doing something, okay? You are an expert. If they're seeing you dilly-dallying around and talking to your girlfriend on the phone or whatever, sitting down on a bench for an hour, something like that, and you knock on their door later, and the whole thing about getting someone to listen to you and opening up that good interaction is you're the expert. They have to see you as an expert. They have to trust you, okay? When they see behavior like that, it doesn't contribute to that whatsoever. It absolutely tears it down. And the crazy thing is you'll never know it. You're never going to understand that that's the reason why those people said no to you or those people didn't trust you. Okay, you'll never know that that is the reason why that happened. All right. This is why it's especially so important to make sure we have our wits about us when we're out there. We're doing the right thing. Because you don't want any of that stuff working against you. We've got enough as it is. This isn't an easy job as it is. Okay. So why pile more stuff on top of it? All right. So there it is. That's when we're walking through the neighborhood and when we're not at a door. Okay. Now when we're at a door, right? Make sure your knock is loud. There's a reason why we do it's shave and a haircut. Okay, the reason behind that is one, it's friendly, obviously, but two, you can knock really loud in that tone and it not sound threatening or anything like that. It's not going to sound like the police are beating on the door. Like if I'm knocking on the door and I just go boom, 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 right? That doesn't sound good. But if I use the same force, okay, in that tone, I can knock very loud. All right. More of an opportunity for someone to hear it. Okay. Boom. Your contact rate goes up. More people are hearing that. More people are hearing the door. Right. If I see a Ring doorbell, right, with the camera and thing on it, and there's like one of those, old style doorbells on there as well. I'm not ringing the Ring doorbell. I'm ringing the actual doorbell, okay? Because that's going to project throughout the whole house. And then the Ring doorbell is just going to show up on your phone and it's just going to be like, hey, someone's at your door. They're going to take one look at it. The picture shows up in the thumbnail on their phone. And then they see a guy with an iPad and they're like, oh, whatever, right? And I'm not not willing to do that. But you'll get more contact. Um, you get more contact if you're doing that. Also, wear your vests. All right. The vests are a great way to get someone to come to the door. Now, I get it. It looks a little, like a utility company or something like that. The crazy thing about that is solar people do that, right? They even they tell the homeowner and try to deceive them and say, I'm with the energy company, right? They're not with the electric company, they're with some solar company, which that shit is a scam, uh, first of all. But yeah, we're gonna wear those and it does help because we look like someone from a company like that, but it's got Renewal by Anderson big letters across it. And as soon as they come to the door, I've got Renewal by Anderson all over me, and I'm saying I'm with Renewal by Anderson. We just did a project for Betty at 123 Main Street. And the reason I stopped here, okay? I'm letting it be known early on that that's it. I'm not deceiving anyone whatsoever. The main reason why we have these vests is for safety. All right. You need to make sure people can see you. We're crossing the street, we're walking through driveways, things of that nature. You always need to make sure that people can see you and are aware of your surroundings because you just don't want to run into something like that. If you wear like all dark colors like this, and I don't have my vest on, and it's middle of November now, and it's getting dark. It's getting dark at 6 o'clock, and I'm knocking until 7. Okay, we have to be really mindful of something like that. Okay, not to mention old people, right? Old people can't see well even during the day, so you want to make sure you have that so that they can see you there. But that helps with contact rate too. Make sure you're smiling. Make sure your hat, your brim isn't over like your eyes. I know it's sunny and everything. You want to kind of keep it there, but make sure you make a conscious effort when you go up and knock on that door, your hat is up a little bit, or even take it off there. Something like that. So those are all things that you can be doing now at the door without speaking with the customer. Okay. Let's start talking about things that we can do when we're actually speaking to the customer, right? I have a habit, and you can see it now, how I shuffle like this, and it's hard to pay attention to me while I'm doing that. It's distracting, and it makes me seem not serious. My thoughts aren't aligned as well. I can't speak as clear as if I do when I stand here straight like this. So model that at the door too. Okay, it helps organize your thoughts, and it's easier to pay attention to you, and it looks more professional. Okay, so keep your feet planted and speak to the customer in a way that they can understand. If there's some sort of unique thing about whatever house, um, like a cactus farm in the back, like you can see on a driveway, this is an actual story. There is a cactus farm in past someone's driveway. Um, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. There was a lot of them, like too many. However many cactuses you think is too many, just go like a couple more beyond that. And like that's how many there was. They were all in pots and everything. It was insane. So knock on the door, and I asked like, what is going on with the cactus? I haven't seen that stuff like that since I was in Arizona last year, right? Um, it's it's obviously something that, and those things are expensive. Those things get very, very expensive. It's obviously something that this person either really, really loves or takes extremely seriously if they're willing to spend that much money on it, to have it in their yard. So, good afternoon. My name's Tony. I hope you're Mrs. Jones. Very, very nice to meet you, Miss. Now, I cannot ignore it, right? I gotta ask you, the cactuses, right? I've never seen so many. What are you doing with those back there? Oh, it's just I I started doing this thing a couple years ago where uh we start selling them online, and it kind of took off. So, that's just what me and my husband do now. This woman, okay, she had her career for the longest time, she was an admin, a receptionist, like, things like that for the longest time. And during like 2008, the housing crisis, her and her husband fell on some hard times, right? And wanted to make some extra money, and started just bought a cactus, flipped it, and people paid a lot of money for it. And then she's just started doing that full time. And now she runs this, she's a cactus broker or something like that. She sells cactuses all across the United States, all different kinds, all different, like it was the coolest conversation. And I sat there and had a 5-10 minute conversation with this woman about these cactuses in her yards. I didn't know a thing. I don't know anything about uh cacti or anything like that, but she loved talking about it. Absolutely loved talking about it. Got down to the point where um she has a room in the back where she likes to keep um her cactus and stuff like that, right? When it's too cold outside. So um the windows in there, they needed some doing or whatever. We got to talking about that back door, things of that nature. She showed me the cactus in the back, showed me the back door and some back windows. Ended up scheduling her for an appointment. Now she didn't buy anything, but it was still a really good appointment. Another person could have gone up to that door and just gone, "Good afternoon, my name's Tony. I hope you're Mrs. Jones. Hi, Mrs. Jones. I'm with Renewal by Anderson, and we just did a project for Betty at 123 Main Street. And the reason I stopped here is because these front vinyl windows are starting to work. All right. Another canvasser may have gone with that, right, and said that. And I have a seriously hard time believing that they would have scheduled that appointment. Okay. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So your voice inflection should match that too. You should talk about things that you shouldn't just leave these things, undiscovered, right? I know you want to stay on your pitch and everything. You want to stay on script and everything like that. But you have to understand to a certain degree, these people are human beings. Talk to them like they're human beings. People like talking about themselves, their things like that. So if you can use that to then still center the conversation around the house, okay, that's a great way to do it. I encourage anybody whatsoever who has been through training and wants to get to the next level. I encourage you to just practice talking to people and using conversation and then segueing from that conversation back into the script. Okay. It's a very, very, very fun and extremely successful thing um, to do when you learn how to do it well, right? It's an incredible and absolutely incredible tool to have in your back pocket at all times. So yeah, that's one thing that we can do is creating personal connections, icebreakers, things of that nature. They're great. Um, but being professional at all times, 100% professional at all times. I know that some people they like to go to the approach of like, oh, well, I want to speak to this customer like real or whatever. They'll curse and use some slang or whatever. You have to be really, really, really careful with that sort of thing, okay? Because one, you could connect too much with that customer, um, where it's to the point where like buddy buddy kind of thing, where they don't see you as an advisor and they don't trust your advice really. Um, so you want to really be careful of towing that line there. You want to maintain that professionalism the entire time um, through that. And I know I always tell people you need to treat others the way that they want to be treated. Um, it's just, I'm not going to sit down and have a beer um, with the neighborhood alcoholic, in the middle of my shift. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's way beyond far what I'm even talking about, but really, really be careful and be cognizant of what you're doing. That's another thing. At all times, we want to be extremely, extremely, extremely mindful of what's going on in this pitch. Where am I in this pitch? What is the customer actually saying to me? I'm very intently listening. I'm making sure I can dissect exactly what they're saying. Like if they say, we do this exercise in the training class all the time. Oh, I've got two kids in college and I'm just not interested right now. Okay. So you have to, that's not a not interested, okay? That's a either no time or no money, right? There's a reason why they're not interested. He said it's because two kids in college. Two kids in college takes a lot of time away from you, a lot of money away from you typically. So make you have to be cognizant of those things and how you respond to those, right? Now, um, when it's working too, right? When you're doing the right thing, you're getting a lot of appointments. You got 3 appointments. It's only 4:30, right? Um, be extremely mindful of what you're doing there. Okay, you need to be very, very mindful. Like, hey, something's working, and I'll bet you 10 out of 10 times it's going to be that you're just doing that script the way it's intended. Okay, you're using the rebuttals as they're intended to move you to the next part of the script rather than just having an argument and a back and forth with a customer. Okay. Um, all those things culminate into one. Now, when you're not doing well too, when you're not doing well, you need to be extremely mindful of that as well, almost down to as small of a degree as you can get. After each and every single door, after each sentence that comes out of your mouth, you want to practice being mindful, right? Realize, oh, what I said right there, I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably could have said that a little bit different, used a different rebuttal, maybe, or something like that, right? I shouldn't have pushed that person that far, right? They were a little displeased with me being here at first, and when I tried joking around with them and lighten it up, I pushed it a little too far. I'm mindful of the fact that I did that, and I probably shouldn't have done that. I could have done something different, and next time I'm going to make sure I don't make that mistake, okay? Because if we go out there and we keep trying to do the same thing over and over and over and over again to no avail, to no success, we have to understand we got to change something. All right. Something, and you have to understand as well, is you have changed something. There is something you're doing that is directly contributing to your failure. Um, Typically what happens is people come out of training, and that's the best they're going to know that script. They just spent a whole week studying that script and to pass their script test, and boom, right there. They don't know anything other than that. They do the 3 days on the road, and then they go on the road on their own. Typically what happens, and everyone has seen this, right, is you start hot. You get 3, 4 leads in a day your first day, another 2, 3 or so the next day, and you're good right off the bat, okay? And then you taper off and you're at ones and zeros and one and the occasional two, things like that. All right. You have to understand, think about it. You haven't been, there wasn't a time where you knew less about window problems than that time that you were doing really well, right? One, and there wasn't a time where you were closer to the script than that time right there. Okay. Be mindful of that. Be mindful of how much you're studying too. Okay. You have to make sure you're up on that. Be honest with yourself with the amount of studying you're doing. Okay. Now, aside from all that, let's talk process. By the way, the code for today, I'm not going to use the time this time. We should use a different code for people for people to prove that we were on the meeting. Let's say, oh, what's that? What's that song? 8675309. All right. Yeah, that'll be the code. 8675309. That'll be the code. Cool. Now that we've got that over with, let's get back to the script and what we're saying and doing that. The way I approach the house every single time, pretty much every single time, I'm going to ask how long they've lived at the home. Okay, I'm going to preface what I'm going to say, what I see that's fucked up, or an observation on the house, and then I'm going to ask how long they've lived in the home. Okay, good afternoon. My name's Tony. I hope you're Mr. Jones. Hi, Mr. Jones. I'm with Renewal by Andersen, and we just did a project for Betty at 123 Main Street. Sir, the reason I stopped here is because these old warping vinyl windows. Now, how long have you lived here? Okay, I'm going to preface the fact that I'm going to talk about his windows, but I want to ask how long he's lived here. A little bit of an icebreaker, start a conversation with him, a casual conversation about the home in and of itself. Okay, very, very structured, but it'll open up opportunities for me to whatever, right? You may get a response like, oh, we're actually moving in right now. We just got our couch finally, right? We closed on the house 2 weeks ago. Okay. Something like that could open up for, oh, wow, that's great. Great conversation to talk about. Also, they've moved in, they just moved in. So these windows, they bought the house with these windows in it. They didn't put them in. If someone says they lived there for 25 years, okay, that's a different conversation I need to have, because it's very likely that those people bought those windows. If it's warping vinyl windows that are about 15, 20 years old, if a vinyl windows at 20 years in the state of Texas, you'll be able to tell it is done. It is falling apart, basically falling apart. They would have pretty much been forced to replace them by then because of rotting in the walls and things of that nature. But for a fact those windows are not 25 years old, right? Because just vinyl just won't last that long. It'll start to break and disintegrate, essentially. They say they lived there for 25 years. They put those windows in. They had someone put those windows in. Now, granted, it may have been 15, 20 years ago or something, okay? But those aren't new windows, right? Some people will try and say, yeah, we just got these 15 years ago. Dude, it's vinyl, right? It's vinyl. 5 years, 50% of all vinyl windows will fail. The seal will be broken within 5 years on 50% of them. So I preface like that though, okay? I'm smart enough to be able to tell that that window is within that range, and if not, I'm just going to ask questions about it. Okay, it's very, very valuable information to get from the homeowner though, about that. Okay, and you expand upon it, right? So if it's the homeowner that's lived there for quite a while, 25 years, right? Wow, well, I can tell why you stayed in the neighborhood for a while. I've been talking to a few of the neighbors, and everyone's just incredibly friendly, right? So I really appreciate your time. First and foremost, sir, though, the main reason this warped vinyl window is like this is because it gets so darn hot here in the summer. Now, um, as you can see, the vinyl started to warp. It's like it's plastic, like you would put next to a stove. It starts to crinkle up like that. That's what's going on here. And these gaps have opened up, unfortunately, so it's letting air in and out of the house. Now, where are you feeling that more? Is it up here in the front where we're seeing it, or are you feeling more of that discomfort in the back of the house? Okay, so right there is how I'm going to segue into that. You know what I mean? Notice a little bit of information, forced choice, the warped vinyl window. It's opened up gaps here because obviously if that vinyl window was like this when it was new and now it's like this, right? You got gaps here and gaps here where it's supposed to sit against the sill. Okay? The customer can't tell me that that's not happening. They cannot tell me that that warping is not happening. That is a fact. I'm showing you right now that that is what is going on in that window. Okay? Now, the question is, where is the discomfort worse? Is it in the front of the house or the back of the house? And I'm giving evidence to that. You know, is it worse here in the front where we're seeing it, or is it more prevalent in the back? Guess what? If it's the front, boom, I'm right. Okay. That adds to my credibility as a window expert at that house. The person is more inclined to trust me at that point because, boom, I called it, right? I knew that room was bad. I knew it was just uncomfortable in that room. Okay. If it's the back, great. Love that. Okay. Sir, if this is this far gone, I can only imagine how bad it is in the back. Okay. That means, hey, you're not feeling it here and this is bad, right? It must be double that in the back. It must be even worse. Or you got other issues going on that we don't even want to get into. Okay. Either way, you're not losing. It doesn't matter what the customer is going to say there either, right? Oh no, I'm not feeling it. Look, dude, I'm not in the market for new windows. Easy. Sir, I didn't expect to catch you on the day you're ready to replace your windows. We're getting way far ahead of ourselves. So I appreciate the enthusiasm. When it comes to a vinyl window like this, unfortunately, it's a lower cost product and it just doesn't hold up to the Texas heat. So two, another thing you'll see is the locks not lining up. Now, right here, we can see that one of them is disengaged there. I don't need to tell you why that's a security concern, okay? Especially this close to the city. But you know, at least you're gonna have to do something about these in the next few years. So can I make a suggestion? Okay, so you're saying, hey, I know you're not in the market for new windows right now. Using the rebuttal the appropriate way. Transition phrase, okay? I agree with you, sir. Yeah, I'd be crazy if I was looking to stop by here in the day you're looking to replace anything. Okay, moving on to the next thing. How many windows look like this? How many windows are these locks not lining up on? All right, or how many windows are you having trouble getting these locks engaged? Right? Oh, well, a couple of them, but look, man, we don't have the money for it, right? I wish we could, but we don't have the money for it, right? Now, where'd you get to? First, it was just not interested. Look, I'm not feeling it. Don't need new windows. Okay. That was the first one. Now, look, dude, I wish we could. I know there's issues, but we can't afford it. Now, look where we're at. Caught him in a lie. He said there's no issues, not interested. Now, the customer is going to say, well, yeah, there are issues, but I don't have any money to do about it. Great. Very few of our customers have the money set aside for new windows, sir. That's why we have special programs to make it more affordable. We're getting way ahead of ourselves because really one of my foremen just needs to see the windows to make sure we could even help you. If we can't, we'd be more than happy to recommend someone else who can. But if we can help you, sir, we'd show you our windows and how they're installed. And if you like what you see, we'll take some measurements and give you a price. That way, when it comes time to do the windows, okay, you know exactly what needs to be done and how much it will cost. Does that sound helpful? Okay, right there is how you're going to move straight on through that. It's a lot simpler and straightforward than a lot of people make it seem. Okay, adding in all this random stuff that doesn't need to be there. Okay, very very natural, organic segues into the next part. um I guess this turned into a little bit of overcoming objections, but two, you have to see how it relates to that is the customer is going to trust you more if you can show them right there. So you always want to open with something that you can show them. Okay. That's what I do every single time. I'm not saying anything to a customer whatsoever unless I can really see it and explain evidence as to why that may be happening. Now, people are going to say, oh, well, I don't know window problems. I don't know. Google it, right? You have the opportunity, you have a little thing in your pocket where you can search literally anything. Not to mention you've got logic and common sense. Okay? It's not that far-fetched to think, okay, this caulking looks really old and it's cracked. And it looks, I mean, that wasn't put in, that caulk was not put on, a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. That caulk has been there for 10 years. Okay. It's not far fetched to think that, oh, when it rains, water gets in there. Okay. That's not that far fetched. And I'm going to say that to a customer. They can understand that. And I think most people around the world have a general consensus that that's not good. Okay. That's not good for the health of the home. You Yeah, great. You got vinyl windows. It never rots. That's what the salesman said to you 25 years ago when it was the next best thing. Oh, you got to see this stuff. It's never going to rot. It's the greatest. It's strong, all this stuff. Never have to worry about it. Guess what? You don't make you the frame of your window and the wall is still wood. Okay. So you have to think about those factors. Now you just basically push the problem off, and now you don't have a window problem. You've got a wall issue. And if you're going to replace a window, right, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 for a window, what do you think that wall is going to cost if you need to take that wall out? It's not double. It ain't, because it's a lot different than that. You've got plumbing behind that wall, you've got electric. That is very easily it turns it into a $25,000 project. Okay? If you pull that window out and that wall needs to be replaced, you got structural beams that are screwed, you're in for it. You're really in for it. Different kinds of permit processes. You need people to start digging and stuff like that. You don't want to deal with that sort of thing. Okay. So um let's do a read back. Let's do a read back on what we're actually talking about here, because we talked about quite a few different things. Get yourself right. Get yourself right in any way that you can. Make sure you're working towards something, right? uh you need to be, when it comes to this job, you need to be a warrior, right? And a warrior always needs to have a target. You need to set goals if you want to achieve them. I mean, it's kind of elementary, but set a goal and then there's a million other goals to get you to that goal. Your eye always needs to be on that. You need to be an absolute warrior. You need to be a killer in order to do well at something like this, because you have to be so headstrong. You have to be so convinced and so bought into yourself and this job that there's no other option for you. I know for me, I maybe at this point, yeah, maybe there's other options for me, but when it was, shoot, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. It came up on my computer. But you have to think, like, what other option do I have? I don't have a college degree, right? I dropped out of college to be a canvasser at this company, right? I dropped out when I got promoted to a manager at this company. Okay. Um, I'm not very marketable. Okay. When it comes to windows and doors, yeah, yeah, I'm fairly marketable. I work for, uh, we all work for the number one window company in the United States and Canada. Right. But outside of that, it doesn't matter. I have no choice but to do extremely well here. If I want one day to make $1 million a year, I've either got to do it here or shit, come on. All right, 1 second, guys. Let me pause this recording. I'll be right. Sorry. All right, sorry about that, guys. Just dealing with issues here and there. I mentioned I'm getting married in a week. There's just always something. There's always something, right? A little hectic. Adrian, you're frozen, but I'm muting you. It says you're not muted. All right, but if I want to make $1 million in my life, right? Which, I mean, that would be great. I would love to make $1 million a year. That would be incredible. I'm probably going to use a lot of the skills that I've learned here at this company in order to do that. Okay. Whether that's industry knowledge, right? Industry knowledge of the materials that we use and the tactics that we use when it comes to our marketing strategy, right? Sales strategy, things of that nature. I'm going to use tools that I've learned at this job for that. Probably if I want to start my own business, right? The leadership that I've learned through this job, through being a leader in this company for the past 5 years. All these things, they're tools that I'm going to need to use for that. So it's, you have to put the effort in that you that would warrant something like that, right? This isn't just some cut rate operation, right? This is your life. This is your job. You can't go out there and take any day for granted, right? Because a 0 lead day is 0 productivity. You've done nothing. You've gotten nothing done whatsoever. Okay. For all that money you spent, the gas put in your car, all that, you're never going to get that day back. Ever. You won't. There's no way to get it back. So why would you half-ass it at any point? Okay. And then break that down at every door. Why would you go to a door with a shitty attitude? Why would you allow yourself to fail like that? You're never going to get that time back that you spent at that door. You won't. You straight up won't. And you learn nothing, which is even worse, right? You got nothing out of it. Okay. Don't waste that. Don't take any of this for granted. Every single person in this operation, with how large this market is and with what we can do with it, every single person that works for this department at the moment has an opportunity to be a leader in the department at some point. Okay. Every single person, right? Every single person also has an opportunity to go to the QT down the street because they're hiring for $15 an hour. Okay. You have those opportunities. You can choose whichever one you want to do. You see more growth there at QT, then go for it, right? You think that's what's going to get you closer to that? Really? Think about it, okay? I want to be the vector that helps you get there to those places, all right? There's a guy that used to work here. He was an awesome person, right? He was a great canvasser, and it was because he was just an awesome person. People liked him, all that sort of stuff like that. But he left the company, and he's working as a sales manager for a different window company right now, right? I mean, he's making himself a ridiculous amount of money. He learned a lot here about the industry, about sales processes. It's the first sales position he's ever had. But now he's building a life for himself and his wife that is going to be beautiful because he got that great opportunity. All right. And he moved up and he did that. Now, you don't get a position like that just working here for 6 months, right? It was a family friend who needed him to take over. And he was the first one he called because he can train him to do that. There was a connection that he had, but he's the first one he thought of because he works for a window company. You know what I mean? So you have to think about these sorts of things. I think that's going to be everything that I've got for you guys here. Do we have any additional questions that you guys feel like may not have been answered throughout the training?
No, I feel like you've covered everything. This was good. Thank you.
Cool. Asen, Adrian, any questions?
No questions on my side. Just push through the rebuttals. I think that's the problem I struggle with. I'll throw a rebuttal, but I just won't push through. So I do realize that now, and I'm gonna work on that as well.
Yep. Power through. Use the rebuttal just to get you to the next part of the script or to get you to the next question you're going to ask in the window problems section. Okay. Window problem section. I'm still telling them that there is an issue here, right? They can't tell me that there's not. They use an objection there. I'm going to use a rebuttal and move on. Yeah. And it can be uncomfortable sometimes, Asen, but you got to take that next step and then it'll just be natural, right? Adrian, what about you? Any questions? There's two of them now. I think he's having trouble with his on his
Yeah,
end.
my mic. I'm sorry about that. But no questions. I mean, just still having that little bit of trouble relating to the customer and everything like that. Like getting them to realize that they do have window problems. But I think you kind of went over a little bit of that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. I'll see everybody bright and early tomorrow. Study your scripts. All right, please.